How do you misunderstand a court order? Now, Emefiele's case, beyond its immediate context, prompts a broader reflection on the country's legal system, and I'm talking about Nigeria, as well as the challenges of ensuring justice and accountability. Now, Nigeria's complex legal framework, characterized by multiple layers of courts and overlapping jurisdictions, can often lead to delays and inconsistencies in administering justice. This case underscores the urgent need for judicial reforms and the strengthening of institutions responsible for upholding the rule of law. Federal Capital Territory High Court Abuja has awarded the sum of 100 million naira against the federal government in favor of the former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, for the violation of his right to personal liberty. The court also restrained the federal government and its agents from rearresting or detaining Emefiele without an order of the court. With that said, I'm now being joined by Professor Paul Ananaba, a legal practitioner in Nigeria, senior advocate of Nigeria. Thank you so much, Prof, for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, Prof, we're talking about the issue of, detaining Emefiele and infringing on his rights, and we're trying to look away from the context of, what he was accused of doing in the first place. But we're looking at the issue from a more vantage point, and that's court orders, the jurisdiction of the court, and the protection of individual rights generally. What are the implications of the court's decision, in favor of Emefiele now for the protection of individual rights in Nigeria?
Yeah, thank you. The Constitution establishes the courts in Section 6 of the Constitution. And it is this court that the Constitution gives the powers to interpret issues and disputes between the government and individuals, and between individuals and individuals. In this case, this is a fundamental right action. And the fundamental right action in the Constitution is so important and serious, because that's the protection the Constitution gives to citizens. Now, as you said, the issue is not what did Emefiele do. But I'm sure the prosecuting agencies are ready to go through that with the courts. But the question is it constitutional to detain a person for the number of days that Emefiele was detained? Was it not a violation of his rights? And I think those are the questions the court answered and said, well, looking at how Emefiele, because you must be brought before a court of competent jurisdiction by the Constitution within a reasonable time. You can see how long Emefiele was in detention. Now, because we're talking about Emefiele and all the news that's going on about him, people may say, well, why? But the issue is not about Emefiele, it is the constitutional right of citizens. Now, this decision now sends a clear warning to our security agencies. You should conclude your investigation before you arrest. You don't go and arrest the person, hold the person, and begin to look for evidence to implicate. No. I think that's what this judgment is. And there is no limit to what the court can award against the government or anybody who infracts the fundamental rights of Nigerian citizens. To that extent, I am happy and I salute the courage of the judge to stand firm and say, yes, I have found a constitutional breach. And the Constitution says the person against whom this judgment goes for infringement of the right of a Nigerian who will be liable to pay damages. So this is a welcome development in the new year. From now, I believe that security agencies that arrest people will first conclude their investigations before going to arrest, and not arresting people and holding the person to look for evidence to prosecute. And that's why in our judicial system, there is a worry. Even the FCT, that ought to protect the citizens have been sidestepped.
Right.
So by the fundamental enforcement tools that came pursuant to 1999 Constitution, you can no longer do all this. You can no longer arrest citizens indefinitely.
Okay, Professor.
Bring the citizen before the court could grant the person bail, and then trial continues.
Right. I want us to refer back to what happened earlier, still with the Emefiele case, where the EFCC said that, in their defense, they didn't exactly understand what the court order was. Is that even possible?
Well, I don't work there, so that's their position. But the order of the court, as reported clear now, is clear. When the order said you cannot arrest him and all that may be what they are referring to, whether a court can make an order stopping a security agency from rearresting. I don't think the court will make such order. What the court must be saying is, based on the facts before the court now, allow the man to stand his trial. And you can understand why. The FCT has the right to appeal. Yes, so they can appeal judgment. But remember that this Emefiele was arraigned before the court, trial court in Lagos. Right there where the court was sitting, he was rearrested even when the court intervened. The security personnel told the court is from order from above. I think that is what the court, and that's what the court is meant for, to stop some of those acts. He was so brazen. He was dragged. Everyone saw it. The rest is history. So I don't know why FCC says they don't understand it. They have legal department, as Office of Attorney General Federation, they can get legal opinion from there. But as it is, if what we read is the correct thing, I think the court is within its power to grant bail and to award damages.
Right. Now, from a legal perspective, what are the broader implications of this case as it spotlights the Nigerian legal system and the protection of the rights of its citizens in general?
Well, I think this is a good development, as I said earlier. It does not mean that the court is supporting wrongdoing. It does not mean that the court has prejudged that Emefiele is innocent. But the court has simply said that the presumption of innocence in favor of Emefiele has been violated. His fundamental right has been violated. That is the wider implication. The court is not saying, no, Emefiele is free. No, whatever charges that are against Emefiele, he will face it. But the court will not want what happened in the Federal High Court, Lagos, to happen before his court, where the man will step out and you arrest him again, drag him into the court, the court intervenes to no avail. So the court now says, before you arrest him, there must be an order of court. And I think it's a good development. I am speaking for myself.
Now, what can we say is a solution to preventing similar violations of rights in the future? Or is it always going to be a situation of medicine after death?
The solution is what Justice Adeniyi has done now. That is the solution. The court stamps his feet and says, listen, look here, security agency, order from above, order from below, order from the middle. This matter is before the court. It is before the court. Except there are other issues. If there are other issues, you can go and take some steps. But as long as it is this matter, his right has been violated, he should not be arrested based on these facts. Prosecute him if you have grounds.
Okay, Prof, when it comes to earning the trust of citizens from different facets, Nigeria is not exactly proving itself, especially the government or the different administrations. And this is just one of the numerous examples. So in terms of regaining or restoring public trust and the public's confidence, what can the government do, or the government agencies generally?
I think they need to study these judgments and review their process. And at the point is what I made, that I know that most countries in the world, the security agencies conclude investigation before they arrest people. And that's why at some point in our jurisprudence, holding charges were outlawed. You cannot even hold people on holding charge. It's unconstitutional. Talk less of something lower than that. You can't just pick Nigerian and put in detain in any facility and then be looking for, investigating, be looking for. No, you should conclude the investigation before you arrest. You arrest, you are ready to prosecute 1-2 days. We should not, in the bid to cure an ailment, cause more problems. So I think that it's a good way to start the year. I think security agencies should review. I know that President of Justice will also look at this judgment closely, and it will help this government to improve on its human rights records. And I think to do that, that was why the police started setting human rights desks in their police stations. I think this judgment is welcome by me, so that you arrest people, you have to do the constitution within a simple time. The person is in court. You don't arrest people to look for investigation, to begin investigation and begin to look for grounds why you are arrested.
Okay. Now, we do understand that, I mean, it's applaudable that the court took this action, and it kind of reflects on how important the rights of each citizen is. But in a situation where this issue is not checked in the long run, what are the potential consequences of allowing government agencies overstep their boundaries without supervision or without repercussion?
Well, the potentials are that you just Google human rights records, you see where Nigeria will fall by today, and that's not very good. So I want to appreciate the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the judiciary. Each time people will blame the judiciary, the court has stood up now to say, yes, don't arrest this man. Because at the last time when it happened in Lagos, the same man was rearrested in the presence of the court. And the security president told the judge, well, I must go with another from above. This judge is not ready to take that. He makes the judgment, he makes restraining orders, and so you cannot arrest him without, and that's fine. And that will improve our human rights record. That is the proper procedure. That is not that the man will not stand his trial. He will not stand his trial. He will have access to his lawyers and all that, and stand his trial.
Okay. Now, talking about, because I mean, of course, they said that it takes, it takes a village. When we're talking about respecting or holding into account the actions of these government agencies, what would you say the role of the media is, as well as the role of the civil society, to ensure that
part of the role of the media is what you are doing now. Civil society should let Nigerians know their rights. That the Constitution has said, if you are arrested for a bailable offense, you should be, whatever offense it is, you should be taken to the court. It is, the prosecution cannot become the judge at the same time. When they detain you for beyond what the Constitution says, it's unconstitutional. And when they detain you trying to do something, it's unconstitutional. It also brings so many interpretations. The fundamental right of an individual is so important. We cannot dispense with it. So the civil society organization should go to work to examine this judgment and show the good intents of this judgment. And other courts will very likely look at this judgment closely and adopt it. I think it's a good thing. Even those who are in the security agencies, when they now run into difficulty too and require help, they will still come back to this type of judgment. They want it. They will not want to be detained. We've seen many of them being prosecuted unnecessarily. We shouldn't detain people unnecessarily. It's a fundamental right. It's fundamental because it's inalienable. That is, it is what God created every human being with. Let's not punish anybody unnecessarily. But if a man is convicted, then he no longer has fundamental rights in that sense. Then he should go to jail and serve his time. That's what we expect to say. But that you have media trials before looking at getting to the real truth. The person has been dragged everywhere, his name destroyed completely, and you confront the back to say, oh, well, how would you do that? So let's adopt global best practices. Before we arrest people, we are sure we have evidence that can convict. We take the person to court. Let the court determine whether to grant a bail or not. Determine prosecution. The prosecution comes to prosecute and not to be a judge also, as to whether the man will have freedom or not.
Okay, Prof, now another very interesting aspect of this development or conversation is the fact that we did realize, or we did see along the course as the event unfolded, that even after he was detained illegally for some time, the issue wasn't exactly brought to the fore immediately, despite the fact that he had lawyers and he kind of raised the issue. And that brought about the question of the bottlenecks or bureaucratic process, unnecessarily long processes, when it comes to standing by decisions, standing firm by decisions, because the court order didn't exactly come immediately. So is there like a bureaucratic process that, makes everything so cumbersome that the decisions do not come in on time, and then people's rights are infringed upon for longer?
Well, there is, before you get a fundamental rights judgment, it may take days, because what if it is at the time when there's strike in the courts? What if it is within public holidays? Well, our jurisprudence has not gone to that point where a judge can, from his house or her house, get the process online and grant bail immediately, even on a weekend. So all those, we are still within a time where you have to wait for a working day, go to registry, file application, serve the other party, a date is given. But I believe that we get to that point. But at least let us be appreciate what we have and build on it. What we have now is good, and we can build on it. Let's also proceed to online injunctions on fundamental rights issues, online interventions. And if you are familiar with the 1979, the rules to fundamental rights enforcement rules under 1979, you will not even begin the fundamental rights action unless you obtain leave. We've moved better than that. Now you don't need leave. You file action straight. I believe that that's not the end of the road. We need to also continue to have even online applications for fundamental rights and others, so that people are not unnecessarily tortured, detained, humiliated, and all that. You are aware that in many cases in Nigeria today, the court orders and people are released. Those orders are not complied with. You know many of them. I don't need to recount them. So that's what this type of order from the court is trying to say now. Don't rearrange, don't detain, free this person.
All right.
Let prosecute him if you have orders. You have grounds for that. Yes.
Okay. Professor Paul Ananaba, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, we really do appreciate your time with us on the news, and thanks for clarifying some of the misconceptions around this development. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
All right, you're still watching VSA. When we come back, we'll take a look at what is happening in another part of the African continent, which is, causing concern for the entire nation. Please stay with us. Different things have happened and are still happening across the continent of late, but nothing, absolutely nothing beats the zombie high in Sierra Leone. Can you just imagine that over the years we've heard of people getting high on drugs, balloon air, which is of course nitrous oxide, then it gets weirder, human dung, and now human bones, like dead people's bones. Now, Kush first emerged in Sierra Leone half a dozen or so years ago, manufactured and distributed by criminal gangs. The drug typically costs 5 leones per joint, though many users will spend a lot more money a day, a small fortune for a country with an average per capita income of under £400 a year. The composition of the drug varies from place to place. Fentanyl and tramadol are said to be ingredients as a formalin or a disinfectant. Now, there are also several media reports of human bones being crushed up and added to this drug, though there is no evidence to substantiate this. But there are also rumors that some graves are now being dug open in Sierra Leone, disturbing the peace of the entire society in the country. Well, that said, we're now being joined by our guests to discuss this further. In the course of the program, we're going to have Charles. Okay, we have Charles joining us now, Charles Chochoma Rogers, the founder, Save Our Son Sierra Leone. Thank you, Charles, for joining us. Okay, in the course of the program, Charles will join us. Right now, we also have Fodie Oniel Kamara, the chairman, People's Alliance for Reproductive Health Advocacy in Sierra Leone, USA as well. Thank you so much, Mr. Kamara, for joining us.
Thank you. Blessing for having me as guest, sorry.
My pleasure. While we wait for Charles to join in, Mr. Kamara, what exactly are the specific ways in which people are getting high on human bones in Sierra Leone? And can we place any veracity to these claims?
Of course, it's actually appalling. It's grave. The situation is actually grave because due to confessions from those who are the users who have been cut, who have been arrested, they say that they grind the human bones, mix it with formalin and other herbs and other chemicals, and one of the major problems that the youths are facing, those who are using Kush, is that there's always this lethal sores that appear on their lower limbs. And so for some, it has resulted to something like either amputation or even death. And most of the sores become so gangrene that they cannot be healed. And it's becoming a threat, a public health threat to the entire nation because it is used countrywide amongst youths, as well as even amongst some security personnel.
Okay. All right. Now I think I just got news that we have Charles with us Charles Chochoma Rogers, founder Save Our Sons Sierra Leone. Charles, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
All right, my pleasure. And thank you, Mr. Kamara, for giving us that, you know, I would say evidence, of people confessing to it, because we've heard that there were rumors about it, but we weren't exactly able to put any veracity to the claims. Now, Charles, what would you say are the consequences of digging up graves for the supply of human bones in Sierra Leone?
Consequences of digging up graves. I can't say what are the consequences of digging up graves, but I know what the consequences have on health and on the individuals and on families and on the communities. Digging up graves is very bad. It's a very bad situation. And they use it to mix these, they use it as chemicals to mix these Kush concoctions, which have detrimental effects on individuals. For example, some may develop sores on their feet, some may have swollen stomach, and even for the families, if they are the ones that their their loved ones are the ones that they are used, they feel they feel bad because their, how do you call it, their caskets that they use been destroyed, and there's not a place of security because they are using they're using materials that are sacred to the family for their drug purposes.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, Charles, I'm with you.
Yes, yes.
All right. Thank you for that. Now, coming back to Mr. Kamara, we see that this is more prevalent among the youth, and we do understand that after a while, it gives this zombie-like effect to these people. And the psychiatric hospitals in Sierra Leone have said that they've recorded a lot more cases, from this drug. What is the impact of this on the youth?
Okay. Of course, when you look at the records from the psychiatric hospitals and even amongst civil society advocates, you'll see that people consider it as just numbers, but this is about the lives of humans, the lives of our future generation, future leaders of our country. And because we are having a high number of our youths, actually being in this, in the usage of the Kush, definitely we are losing a lot of our potential middle management support system. We are losing a lot of our middle-aged those who are the actual machinery in terms of labor in the country. So it's affecting the lives of people. It's also affecting the job situation, the population that actually should be, active within the workforce. So, and this is also having an impact on how much the government is spending on the psychiatric hospital, because it's a loss to our financial system as a country. So it is actually appalling that such is happening.
Right. Now, Charles, how do we address this issue of supplying human bones? Because we understand that the youths do not just go to graves and dig them up. Sometimes people just wake up in the morning and see that some graves are open, and there's certain people who supply these human bones to, those who mix the ingredients for these drugs and then sell to the youth. So what can the government do to fish out these people and ensure that they put an end to this barbaric practice?
That I may suggest that government may do is to enforce laws against these individuals, enforce strict laws against not only the distributors or not only the ones that are actually digging up the graves, but the users as well. And not only government, but it takes community participation. The community needs to come together and mobilize in order to fight this disaster that is going on in our nation. And to add on to what my colleague said about the mental health and Kush, in 2021, there were 47 patients at Kisi Mental Home. Fast forward later in 2023, there are over 1,000 patients presently at the Kisi Mental Home, and most of them suffer from push addiction.
Okay. All right, Mr. Kamara, also talking about repercussions. I mean, Charles has mentioned that there should be strict measures, when these people are caught. Has the government made any statement regarding that? Has there been anything, ingrained in the Constitution? Maybe not exactly specifically supplying human bones, but anything about supplying these drugs to these youths? Is there anything in the Constitution that addresses it, or has the government made any statement regarding that so far?
Of course, we have the National Drug Control Act of 2008, and there is a particular agency, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, that is actually has been established by government, and they are very much active because they are working with the civil society, they are working with the media, they are working with the security sector. And when I can remember in 2022, later in 2022 and throughout 2023 last year, the Minister of Health was over the media condemning the use of Kush and other illegal drugs. So government has actually taken the necessary steps. But one thing that I can say for sure is that our security sector is overstretched in terms of nailing down those who actually go after digging the graves to get the bones. Like my colleague Charles said, the community, we need, a concerted effort amongst the community, the security sector, the parliament, and the civil society, the media, to ensure that the graves are secured. But, we have cemeteries right around the country, and it is difficult to get people to go and sit in the cemeteries to protect the cemeteries. Like I can remember during the war, we had this thing about the vigilante groups that we used to establish, the vigilante groups that watched over the communities. If the communities can establish such groups, to watch over their cemeteries, definitely, I think that will help to prevent the digging up of graves.
All right. I think that's a very, very salient suggestion that you made, and I really do hope that the government can follow up on that. Charles, let me come back to you. I think that we should touch base with the genesis of this problem. How exactly did it get to the point where youths began digging graves for human bones to get high?
The grassroots of this problem, in my opinion, is idleness. One, the youth of Sierra Leone are very idle. There is very little to do in our country apart from school, apart from schooling. And if you are unfortunate, you don't find yourself in a good home where there are businesses that you can help your family to run, there's very little for you to do. You're after school, there's nothing else to do but to partake in delinquent behaviors like drug abuse, alcohol abuse, violence, or unsafe sexual practices. And I believe that this Kush was like a cheap way for people to forget about their problems, to forget about the situation. Yes, we can blame idleness, but poverty also plays a vital role. Because many people are in distress. And most people, to forget about the distress, they have to find a median to level them out, to feel high. And they turn to Kush because it was the easy access. And another reason I think the use has become so rampant is the availability of self-production. As you said, people use now bones of corpses. People may use rat poison. They may use acetone, nail polish remover. So there are different chemicals that people can mix with these plant matter to form kush, and it makes it more available for for the community since there are different ways and different access points for people to use these kush drugs.
All right. On that note, I want to say a big thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Charles Chochoma Rogers, the founder of Save Our Sons Sierra Leone. And of course, thank you so much, Fodie Paul Oniel Kamara, the chairman, People's Alliance for Reproductive Health Advocacy, Sierra Leone in the USA. Thank you, gentlemen, for spotlighting this issue and for your opinions on the matter. And we do hope that there is a solution in sight, because this is a devastating turn of events, especially in Sierra Leone and in Africa at large, if the youth are engaged in such, both for their health, for their mental being, and even for the society in general. So once again, I want to say thank you for gracing us with your time and your presence on the show.
Okay, thank you too for having us.
My pleasure. All right, this is where we call it a wrap on VSA. We've talked about the need to embolden people to stand up for their rights, especially by court's jurisdiction in Nigeria. And we've also talked about the zombie high in Sierra Leone, and we've tried to look at solutions for that as well. Do well to join us in our subsequent episodes, as we're not done tackling issues across the African continent. There's so much more to come, and you don't want to miss any of that. And do stay with us. We're not leaving very shortly. The news comes up very shortly as well. My name is Blessings Mosugu, and it has been a VSA.